Hello guys, welcome and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lois. Well, today we are going to talk about the effects of using synthetic chemicals in our gardens and why we should all try as much as possible to grow organic. Okay, so I think you've noticed some really very beautiful vegetables like carrots, bell peppers, etc. in the markets. Most times we buy these things, of course, thinking, oh, I'm eating healthy, but most of these things are overly sprayed using these synthetic chemicals, and that greatly affects our health. Not so long ago, I visited the village and I was quite surprised that every farmer was trying to buy these chemicals to spray their crops. Growing up, that is something that I never saw in the village, yeah. And that, of course, gave me this mentality that, you know, farmers in the villages are organic farmers. But right now, of course, I know that most farmers in the villages are not actually organic by choice. They're organic by circumstances because not all of them can afford these chemicals. But one thing that is quite concerning now is the fact that these chemicals are being sold even very cheaply. So everyone can almost afford them. I've visited the local markets and I've seen these chemicals being sold. So every farmer comes to buy this, that, and they go spray their crops. Of course, the plants do well. They're not attacked by these diseases. They get quite some good profits from their produce. But I do not think that they know the impact of using these chemicals in our gardens. Okay, and I think it is important that we discuss them so that we can reason out, so that we can appreciate organic farming more. It's not easy being an organic farmer because then you're going to experience, you know, pests that are coming through like slugs, for example, snails, etc., etc. There are so many of them that attack our plants. So being organic, like being an organic farmer is not easy, but it is still possible. One thing that we have to remember is we are not just farmers, we are also responsible, responsible farmers. Farmers who care about our environment, farmers who care about our health, farmers who care about sustainability because when we destroy the resources that we have right now, then the future generation are going to suffer greatly. So when I talk about sustainability, we talk about conserving our environment, conserving our soil, things like that. So these are resources that help us get food, for example, and we want these to still be available for the future generation too. So if we destroyed them now, that means, of course, the future generation will suffer even more. And with the rate of climate change now, who knows how the future will be if you don't do something now. Like I said, it starts with you. Do not wait for your friend to start planting a tree. Do not wait for your friend to start going organic because the difference starts with you. Okay. So what are these some of the effects of using these synthetic chemicals in our gardens? So number one, of course, I am going to talk about our soil. When you spray these plants, these chemicals are going to end up in the soil, and that will do two very drastic things. Number one, of course, it's going to kill that particular pest that you want to kill. But with it, it's also going to kill things like the microorganisms, for example, earthworms. And these are very, very important, very essential for our soil because these microorganisms play a number of roles and they help with aeration, good aeration. Remember, good aeration is very good property of soil. And of course, good draining, they help with decomposition. All these are very important activities that we need to have in our gardens. Without these microbes, then of course we are not going to be able to make our compost. Without them, we are, just going to have soil with very bad properties, and of course our plants are not going to do well. So if you spray this, yeah, you're going to end up killing those microorganisms as well, and our soil will suffer greatly. And if our soils are suffering greatly, of course, our plants are not going to do well either. And eventually, this is going to degrade it significantly. And that particular soil might not be able to give us good yield, and even worse for our future generation. The second one, of course, is as we spray these plants, we have talked about the reason as to why we should have flowers in our gardens. Yeah, we have talked about all these things to attract insects and other pollinators to come in place, because without pollination, we're not going to get our seeds or fruits. We need that to happen. So if you don't have these pollinators around, then that affects us also significantly. So why is it very dangerous to spray these chemicals? That is our second point. When you spray this, yes, again, it's going to kill that particular pest that you are targeting, but you're also going to kill, let's use that word, you're also going to destroy or kill these other beautiful insects that are really harmless. So you end up killing all the pollinators that are present there, especially the insects, and that will affect us greatly. Without a garden without, insects, a garden without these pollinators, yeah, does not do very well. And guys, it is just beautiful to see a butterfly in the garden, right? When you're just sitting in a garden like I am right now and you're seeing a butterfly on a flower, it's very therapeutic, makes you forget about your problems, doesn't it? Yeah. So if you spray these chemicals, you will destroy that part, the beauty, having those things in your garden. You don't see, it's just stay, you don't see any insect. So let us try as much as possible to at least minimize usage if you cannot stop altogether. But I encourage you to stop entirely, and let's try organic farming. It's not, like I said, not easy, but still doable. The third point is when we spray these chemicals in our, spray the plants, and this, of course, I said is going to end up in the soil. But if it rains, yeah, we shall have maybe runoff water or water that infiltrates through and end up in a water body somewhere. So this might end up in drinking water, or just end up in a water body with these aquatic animals are present there. So you're going to poison these animals and also poison yourself when you drink this contaminated water. So spraying these chemicals will contaminate even our water bodies, because yes, when it rains especially, it's going to run off or infiltrate and end up in an underground water that will find access to us. So let us again, that's another reason why we shouldn't spray these synthetic chemicals. I've talked about consuming food with lots of these chemicals. This food that is often being sprayed and sprayed, of course, they look so good, so healthy, but they're full of these chemicals. I don't know if you're acquainted with what we call the food chain, right? So it accumulates, and that will affect our health significantly. We have heard of people suffering from cancer, people suffering from diseases that are associated with these chemicals. So again, that is another reason as to why we should minimize or eradicate use of these synthetic chemicals. Don't come for me. I am just very mindful about the environment and mindful, of course, about your health. The other point, of course, speaking of the environment, when you spray these chemicals, yeah, you're polluting the environment. You're releasing harmful substances to the environment. First of all, it's going to affect you, especially respiratory wise, yeah. These people like those with allergies, asthmas, and even you who is normal, you get irritation, right? Because those particular chemicals are really toxic. And once we inhale them, they have significant impact. And that's why you are advised to spray when it's not windy so that it does not come in contact with your skin or whatever your respiratory organs, etc. Okay, your eyes, So you're not supposed to spray when it is windy, and you're not supposed to spray when it is about to rain, because then when the rain falls, of course, it's going to wash all the chemicals from that particular plant, end up in the soil, run off to water bodies, and you know what we've just discussed. But I don't think they put it that way because, of course, they want to minimize chemicals from ending up in water bodies. No, I don't think they really mind about that. They mind, of course, that don't spray when it's about to rain, so that your plant has that particular the chemical sticks and works on that particular plant. And of course, the other one is just to avoid reactions from contact with these chemicals. But yeah, that shows you that they're very, very dangerous to our health and also the environment, because once this is released, it's already polluted. Um, change the entire smell. People cannot breathe properly. And we have been talking about climate change, guys. These are things that contribute to that. So let us try not to uh, use this chemicals again. Let's try to go organic. I know people have like very vast farms, so organic can be a little bit risky to go by. People want to minimize, losses, want to maximize their profits, and it is understandable. But at least let us try to minimize usage of these chemicals. The other thing I want to talk about is what we call a predator-prey relationship. So in the wild, we're very lucky to be human beings, right? Because once you're in the wild, yeah, there is what we call survival for the fittest. The predator feeds on the prey, but this particular predator is also a prey to another predator. So it is a chain, yeah, but this is also a way that nature tries to control our population when you have these prey predator relationship. When you spray these chemicals around, you're going to disrupt that system. It is a natural system that God has put in place to, control the population of certain things. And this you can use to your advantage when you go organic. Okay, there are particular insects, for example, that feed on another one. So you can introduce that one to eliminate the other. But be very careful. Don't introduce something that is also going to eat your plants. Make sure that which you are introducing does not feed on that particular plant. You just introduce it to feed on this other one that is present in your garden. And sometimes, guys, just release some birds in your garden, like ducks, turkey. They're very dangerous when it comes to vegetables, but you can just release them briefly to go about in your garden to feed on things like the slugs, those insects. Yeah, that is another way to, organic way to control pests. But yes, this prey-predator relationship can be significantly disrupted, and you don't want to disrupt nature all the time. But by spraying these chemicals, of course, you are going to disrupt that system. Because we have talked about trying to minimize costs when starting up, or even when, in the middle of your projects. It is very important to minimize costs, especially unnecessary ones. So buying of these chemicals mean you're going to spend money to get them, to acquire them. But if you're going organic, making your own compost, doing this, doing that, then you eliminate, expenditures incurred from buying these other chemicals. And remember, guys, when you continuously use these chemicals, it will reach a point whereby this particular pest will develop resistance against that particular chemical you are using. And that means you have to buy even a stronger one, of course more expensive, but stronger, a stronger one that will eventually kill them. And again, if you buy a stronger one, that means you are you are intensifying the dangers we have just mentioned, the effects we've just mentioned earlier. So the stronger the chemical, of course, the more dangerous it is and the more expensive it becomes. It's just like us human beings. When you have malaria, for example, and you refuse to treat yourself, like, or maybe you just have like one or two doses and you say, oh, I feel better, I'm not going to have it anymore. Yeah, yes, you might feel better, but eventually you are going to develop the parasites, or whatever you're treating, parasites, bacteria, whatever you're treating, is definitely going to develop resistance against that particular medicine, because you're giving them time to develop that resistance. Yeah. So once they develop resistance against that particular medication, then you have to uh, get a stronger medication later on to help you cure that particular malaria, that particular bacterial infection, that particular whatever it is. So that happens the same way with these pests. When you continuously spray your plants, they're going to eventually develop some sort of resistance, and that particular chemical will not work on them eventually, and you'll have to buy a stronger one, more expensive, but also more dangerous to the environment and to our health. So guys, let us try. Okay, I plead with you. It's not easy, but especially for us urban farmers, we have limited space, and that means we don't have a lot of plants, so it is manageable. So let us set examples by trying to go organic. Start with you. Start with you, an urban farmer, because you have little. Of course, I sympathize with farmers with a lot of land in the villages. Yeah, that is quite understandable, because it's a huge loss when people, when people incur these losses due to pests and diseases. So I understand, but I urge you that you as an urban farmer try to go organic, especially if you have like only 2 containers, for example. What are you doing? Um, Going about spraying everything. If you have skumawiki, for example, I've had skumawiki right there, and I was just away for some time, and I found like these white flies already on them. So you as an urban farmer have to know the different methods that you can use to eliminate these particular pests. For example, like the skumawiki, you can have your soap, liquid soap. If you have liquid soap, for example, you can add some water and some oil and spray your plant, so that the oil is going to help it stick on the plant. Okay, that is the reason as to why you're adding the oil. So it helps stick on the plant, and the soap will do the rest. You find that the plants are very healthy. Although organic farming, of course, needs you to be checking your gardens. Yeah, that's why I also urge you, advise you to often find time to be in your garden, walk around, check around, because organic farming requires supervision, requires your presence, requires you to move around, requires you to check your plants. That way, you can eradicate these pests in time. Some people, including my sister, she often goes in the night to catch things like snails and those huge slugs that hide during the day. So those are the things. It takes more work, and that's why I say we have to be passionate about good farming methods in also conserving our environment to fight against climate change. So it is something that should come from within you to protect our environment and to help realize the sustainability we always talk about. Otherwise, of course, we reach the future and the resources are over, and of course, our children's children or even our children suffer the consequences of our actions. So let us try to go organic or at least minimize use. There are people who spray 4 times a week. What are you doing? Hmm? Please let us, at least if you don't want to stop, minimize the usage of those chemicals, but rather we all try to go completely organic. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a thing or two in this episode, and we're going to continue still with urban farming strictly because we need to compensate for the days that I have been away. And yeah, it is determination, right? We are definitely going to complete our 30-day challenge talking about urban farming, issues related to urban farming. So if you haven't subscribed yet and this is the kind of content that interests you, please do so. We are all about urban farming, but every now and then we venture into other things. Thank you again for those of you who have been with me and for those who have just joined the family. I appreciate you guys a lot. It is very hot and hopefully it's going to rain later on. But right now I have to run to Bugalabi. Thank you again. Until next time. Bye bye.